Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. Rule number 1, don't get attached to these players. That's always been my rule as a Saints fan. I know it's hard. Like, I was attached to Drew Brees, Reggie Bush. It happens. Trust me. I get it. Joe Horn, many other players. But I tried not to get attached to these players because stuff like this happens. David Onyemata, first day of free agency, he signs with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, see, if you're attached to this player, you have to, stay attached. Now you have to kind of root for him. And I'll be damned if I root for anybody that played for the Atlanta Falcons. But let's talk about David Onyemata leaving. He got paid nearly $12 million a year, just about $12 million a year to play for the Falcons. The Saints were never going to do that. That was never going to be the outcome with the Saints. He didn't play like a $12 million defensive tackle. He hasn't been the same, from about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he was really, really elite. I had him as a top 10 player on the Saints roster overall. So losing him, the most thing is going to hurt the Saints in regards to is the dead cap. Let's be honest. The defensive tackles didn't perform well last season. That's going to be a $10 million dead cap hit. We're already at $5 million, so that's going to push us to right about $15 million. The $5 million come from retirements and things like that. I think Malcolm Jenkins still had like $2 or $3 million on there. The good thing about this is we get to rebuild his defensive line from scratch. David Onyemata had a down season last year. We were very, very bad against the run. Running backs kept getting through the middle of our defensive line with ease last season. Now that he's going to be gone, maybe we'll get some fresh blood in there, or maybe we'll get a vet out of free agency. We don't know what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be a change at the defensive tackle. And the biggest thing about this is maybe we'll get a pick. Maybe we'll get a draft pick for him. He signed a pretty decent contract. Depending on what we do in free agency, if we don't sign anybody, we may be able to get a 4th or a 5th round pick in the 2024 draft for David Onyemata. So he's going to the Falcons. He's an op now. It's getting oppy outside. He's the first op on the list, but the ops didn't stop there. We got Tuttle signing with the Carolina Panthers. Why? I don't know. I know these players, they're getting their feelings when the team don't re-sign them, so they want to stay in the division. They want to play them 2 times a year. I get it. So, Tuttle is going to be signing with the Carolina Panthers. He got $19.5 million, 3 years, $13 million guaranteed. That's about $6 to $7 million per year. And the Saints, he just wasn't worth that. Man. Tuttle did not have a good season. I had high hopes for him and David Onyemata pairing, but it just didn't work out. Those guys are the pair. Those guys solo. Those guys were other guys. It just didn't work out. Both of those guys are going to be playing in NFC South. In Saints luck and in our fashion, they'll have great seasons. But they're not going to be Saints anymore in their ops. You go to NFC South, I don't wish you nothing but the worst. I'm going to let you know that right now. Nothing but the worst. Obviously, I want you to be healthy and nothing like that. But as well as your play, I hope you're the worst defensive tackle in the league. I hope Onyemata and Tuttle are the worst 2 defensive tackles in the league. That's how I feel about them right now. Let's be honest. Tuttle, the most memorable play, with stiff arm and Matt Ryan. Didn't really do anything last season, man. If I look up these stats, it's not going to get pretty for both of these guys. We know that for a fact. They really didn't do anything statistically. Onyemata did. He had 43 tackles, 5 sacks. Last year had 34 tackles, only 2 sacks. So, I'm not going to say the production's going to be easy to replace, but it's not like we lost Aaron Donald. We didn't lose Chris Jones or anything like that. David Onyemata was a good player for us, a very value pick. We know where we got him out of college from Canada, but we're not missing a lot. And then you got Tuttle. Tuttle this past season, 17 games, 14 started, 2 sacks, 49 tackles. Now, he's supposed to be really, really good against the run. That's his specialty. We were god-awful against the run. So, if that's your specialty and you can't do that and we're bad at that, I'm not going to miss you. I tweeted, I said plenty of times I like Kentavious Street better than him. I don't know if we're going to keep Kentavious Street, but he was playing better than Tuttle in my opinion. I know Tuttle's, biggest thing is he's good against the run. Well, he wasn't good against the run. So if that's your thing that you're good at and we're not good at it, what's the point? So obviously the Saints are going to be in the market for defensive tackles. Maybe that's going to be in the draft. I like Kalanja Cansey, Brian Reese from Clemson. He's a really, really good player. I don't think he'll fall, to 29. But I've seen a lot of mocks had him falling. Maybe he falls, after the combine, after free agency. Who knows how this will shake up? A lot of guys are getting defensive tackles in free agency. So maybe this thing could be, good for the Saints. Maybe somebody will fall to us. I don't know that as of yet. All I can go is the Saints have basically no defensive tackles on the roster right now. Like Nick Underhill tweeted, if it was a game today, we wouldn't have any defensive tackles. You couldn't even fill out the roster. But obviously, we don't have games for, anytime soon. It's March 13th. We have time to fill out this roster, but defensive tackle will be a need for the Saints. And before I get out of here, I gotta say this, and I need y'all to listen up. This is not a rant. This is shots though. And I'll tell you right now, Nick Wright, mind your fucking business, dude. Stop talking about the Saints. Stop tweeting about the Saints. We do not care about your opinion on a cap. You don't know anything about football, basketball, or anything. Please take your FS1 show and just do that shit. Stay out of Saints business before we have you crying on Twitter and begging for mercy. That's just a warning shot. And I'll leave it at that. Back to regular scheduled programming. Maybe we're going to lose Marcus Davenport too. And to be honest, if we lose him, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. We got a guy with 5 sacks, a guy with 2 sacks, and then Marcus Davenport, a.k.a. 2 first-round picks, 0.5 sacks. So you're telling me a group of guys with a combined 7.5 sacks, I think over 2 years, they may be at 20 sacks between the three of them. I mean, we got guys in the NFL doing that by themselves in 1 year. So this trio, obviously, you don't want to lose, 3 defensive linemen at starting. But, I mean, come on. The production just wasn't there. The production just wasn't there in the game. The defensive line was the weakest unit on the football team last year. I mean, you can say quarterback, but that's just obvious. We just had, a carousel. But if you give me Taysom, Jameis, and Andy, I think they played better than, the defensive line, to be honest. Defensive line was piss poor. Quarterback play was poor as well, but the defensive line was god-awful. God-awful, especially with the money they're getting paid, where they were drafted and things like that. You take all that into consideration, the defensive line was the worst part of the team, and 3 guys are leaving. I don't know how they got money so fast. I know it's probably Carolina and Atlanta trying to stick it to the Saints, hit them with dead cap. But at the end of the day, man, this is addition by subtraction. Let's be honest, especially when it comes to Davenport if he doesn't resign. If Davenport turns into the 2021 guy, I would love to have him. Would love to have the 2021 Davenport. But who knows if that guy's walking through the building. He may walk through the building for 2 games out of 17 in the season. It may be hurt the other 15. We don't know. Though, we're probably going to lose 3 of the front 4. Cam Jordan's an awful recruiter. That's a joke. But everybody he recruits, we don't get. Calais Campbell did get cut today by the Ravens. I would love him. He's very, very good. I mean, he's an older guy, but he's still a very, very good player. We'll see how this unfolds. The Saints won't be a player in free agency very early. We're not going to get any of these high-priced guys. Maybe once these first couple of days settle down, everybody gets these high-priced guys out the way, we'll, come pick up the stragglers, the mid-tier guys, because that's just where we're at. Got a lot of money tied up, and now on the quarterback, maybe Michael Thomas. Who knows what's going to happen with him? Just Pete. A couple restructures that happened. Lattimore, Alvin Kamara, Cam Jordan. We got money tied up and big players that are really, really good. We just need them to stay healthy and stay on the field, and we'll see what happens. But let me know what y'all think in the comments below about losing these 2 defensive tackles and maybe a defensive end in the future. As always, this is the Blue Tragedies once again. Fuck Nick Wright, and I'm out.